last section, we got our sign up at least kind of doing something, right? We can see an error message on here. But if I enter an incorrect password, I see authentication failed pop up. If I then replace it with the correct password, I can attempt to sign in again, but the error message does not go away. So definitely we need to make sure that we clear out this error message. Luckily, it's really straightforward to do with Redux. Right here, we've got a case in our reducer of login user success. So if a user just logged in, chances are there's no error message to show them, right? Like, we don't need to show them error message. Surely they just logged in successfully, so authentication did not fail. Don't tell me it failed when it clearly just succeeded. So to get the error message to go away, we can just zero out the error message like so. So just throw an empty string on there, and the error message should go away. Okay, so I'll refresh now, and I'll attempt to sign in. We get the error message, and then I'll put in correct credentials, and ta-da, it goes away. Fantastic, just what we expected. Now I want to show you something, a real, very small oddity, okay? And this is an oddity of Firebase. I'm just going to point out to you, it is something that bit me just a little bit while developing this application. I imagine some number of people out there are going to run into this, and so I want to point this out, tell you what the behavior is right now so you can expect it while you're debugging your application. I'm going to do a little interesting something here. Okay, I want to put a new line about that login user success, and I'm just going to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay. What do you think is going to happen when our app runs this line of code right here? Well, we haven't declared a variable called A, B, C, D, F, G. Let's do something more reasonable, like how about banana? There you go. So when this line of code is executed, I'm going to expect an error message to occur, right? I'm going to expect to see a big red error message on the screen of my simulator and say, I have no idea what variable you're talking about here. Okay, that's what we expect. That's what we want to have happen. So now I'm going to refresh the simulator. I'm going to put test.com. I'm going to put in my correct password. So now I will expect this line of code to be executed right here. So I'm going to log in. And I get authentication failed. How interesting, right? How interesting. Surely this line of code just executed, right? Like surely execute. We just saw the error message go away a second ago. So I know it's hitting that line of code. And I know I just put in the correct password. But for some reason, rather than throwing an error on this message right here, I get authentication failed. So this is, again, a little bit of an oddity of Firebase, something that can be a little bit frustrating if you don't expect it. So I'm going to tell you what it is right now. You'll probably go like, oh, that's real not helpful. But hopefully it'll help you debug stuff in the future. So I want you to remember that whenever we whenever we press that login button right here, we are calling login user, right? We call login user, we attempt to sign in with an email and password, okay? If we did not have that banana variable in there, I would expect to hit .then, call login user success, we dispatch a login user success action, and then it flows over, eventually we end up over here in the reducer, and I hit this line of code right here, right? That is my expected flow. That is what I expect to have happen. And I'm going to tell you that is exactly what is happening. We are hitting this line of code right here. We are executing banana, and an error is being thrown. Here's the problem. I want you to think for a second about our call stack, like the order in which we're calling all these different functions. So we hit sign in with email and password. When that resolves, we run this function right here. So login user success and dispatching that action, we are still kind of like in the context of this .then, or like in the context of this promise. So here's what's really going on behind the scenes. Login user success runs, we dispatch the action, we hit that line of code in the reducer, an error is thrown, and Firebase sees the error and assumes that something went wrong with the request. It assumes that the request failed catastrophically. And so it goes over to this catch statement right here, and it executes the catch statement. So that is what is really going on behind the scenes. And I can prove it to you. I'm going to put in here error. So I'm just going to receive whatever argument this function is being called with. And I'm going to console log error, like so. All right. So now I'm going to flip back over to the simulator. I'm going to pull open my Chrome console. Here it is. And now I'm going to put in my correct credentials. So I'm going to expect this to hit that banana line. So I'll log in now, and boom, I get authentication failed, and at the console I see banana is not defined, which is clearly not what I expect. That's not what I have happen. But if you look at the call stack here, you can see that yes, we were inside of user login success. We attempt to dispatch an action, and something else happened in here. Basically, it got hung up back in the promise. It hit the catch case because it assumed something went wrong with the request, and we ended up in the catch case. Definitely not what we really expected as far as catching an error goes. Okay, so again, this is a real gotcha while using Firebase. Not a great way to catch this. What I'm going to recommend you do is for the rest of the course, just keep this log message right here. And if you ever so happen to make a mistake while using Firebase, especially as we're working through this authentication stuff, you will see the error message pop up on the screen along with that authentication failed message as well. So a little bit of a gotcha. This is the workaround that we're going to use for right now. All right. So we do have to fix up our reducer, of course. I'm going to flip back over. I'm going to remove that banana term. And now I should be able to refresh, get my error message, and then sign in successfully. And see the error message go away. Cool. Okay, so it looks good. Let's take a quick break and then come back and finish up with all that, making sure we show some spinners and all that kind of good stuff.